especially want to say this to whoever makes the technology purchases at OPD. You have to do a better job. You have serious problems with your technology. There's no reason we shouldn't have the SOPs up online like almost every other department in the United States does. It's a matter of technology and commitment. We cannot wait 2 or 3 more years. I don't even know how this department is operating without proper SOPs. Secondly, why aren't the video cameras working? This is the 3rd purchase of video cameras, and we need to have them working. These are deep structural and systemic problems that must be addressed by these solutions. And one other thing, you've got to get involved with the union in the contract. Management does. I'm sorry. You cannot let that union capture as much money as it does out of the city budget, and it doesn't go to these exact things in the department that need to be corrected, including the fleet and including everything else. That has got to happen, and it does happen in other places. So my issue about the solutions is the department needs to deal with its serious systemic and structural problems. Thanks.
Thanks, Nicole.
My only question that I have is, I know that you guys deal with unions, disenchantment, a whole lot of other organizations and practices. Why is there not somebody from the union represented here on the panel as well? Because a lot of these issues, personally can't really deal with a lot of the issues. A lot of the issues have to be dealt with the union specifically. And so that would be the best person or the best people for us to talk to as a community to find out where they stand as a union.
That's a great point, thanks. On the organizational side, thank you for that. And for those that want to commit to a part 2, we'll make sure that we reach out and have the union representative here. Okay? Thank you for that, Nicole. Councilman Gray, you've been waiting. I know some others from the group wanted to have a comment. You want to share?
I don't know whether I want to close or want to have some closing comments, but when you come into a public office, there's the perception of what that office is like, and then there's the reality of what that office is like. And the reality is this. There are issues that come up that relate to police complaints. But when I go into the office every day, for every 1 complaint that I get about police misconduct, I will get 20 complaints about gang activity, drug dealing, and other sorts of problems. For every 1 police complaint I get, I will get 25 complaints about abandoned buildings, abandoned lots, and people being on property illegally. So we got to put this in perspective first of all and set some priorities for how we deal with things. I will respond specifically to Mr. Wagner's case because a comment was made that I never said anything about this or never said that police misconduct was an issue. I don't know who you are. You've never had a conversation with me. I'm just going to be straight up. I don't know you. You don't know what I did. You don't know what I said. So, and I can address specifically on that night very quickly what went down, because I was there. When the whole thing happened, first of all, I didn't see the incident until it was just about over. And the first thing I did was grab the security officer and I said, make sure that y'all preserve that tape. Now, I didn't say if there's a tape. I said, make sure you preserve that tape. And the reason I knew there was a tape was because with Impact 1, we went into their security room and we knew there was a camera that was taping outside. So I said, make sure you secure that tape. The next morning, Mr. Wagner's attorney called me. Now, he's not the attorney of record now, but his attorney called. And I said, there's a tape, make sure you get it. I called the police chief, make sure you get it. But I'll stop. You know, just in general terms, when you talk about more police officers and more African-American police officers, when I went into office, one of the things that I had to address was the testing procedures for police, fire, and others. The testing procedures have not been validated in many cases for up to 15 and in some cases 20 20 years. Let me give you an example. Firefighters the firefighter tests that they were taking, 85% of the tests they were taking prior to the changes were about fire suppression. They don't do fire suppression at 85% anymore. 85% of what they do is rescue. So the testing was not even appropriate for the jobs. And then you all know the story about the cheating on the fire unit test or the fire test. And so the first thing I had to do was go in and talk with the HR director and change all the testing procedures. You're getting ready to see in the next few weeks a fire crew class that is one of the most diverse in the last 20 years. We've got 5 African Americans on it, 2 Latinos, 3 women in a 28-person class. That has not happened in 20 years. So you got to go in and change the testing procedure so that there's a level playing field for women and minorities to compete when they take these tests. So you had to address that first of all. Secondly, I'm gonna stop moving. You just need to understand there's perception of what goes on, and then there's the reality of what goes on. And I want to spend the time talking about, first of all, reality and solutions and some of the things that have already been done. Let me just take one more minute to talk about police complaints. When people call and want to make a complaint, the reason why I tell them all the time, make sure you file the police complaint and make sure I get a copy. And the reason why we do that is because, the reason why I ask to do that, now not a lot of people have done it, but the reason why I ask to do that is so that we can compile a record and we can see if there are police officers, certain police officers, that are having this problem over and over and over again. But if we don't do our part in filing police complaints so that we can establish a record and know who is or is not an officer or officers that we need to deal with, how are we going to know? How else do we know? There's perception and there's reality. And I'll be more than glad to talk to you about both.
Did you still have something? Yes, for a while. Okay. Very quickly.
I just have one question, Chief Smucker. I've been in North Omaha my whole life, and it seems like the police the city, North Omaha and West Omaha, 2 different ways. Is that true? I mean, I hear the term rolling gun battle all the time. How does it happen in broad daylight when North Omaha is so small for one? I can't get into my driveway without getting pulled over, but how do people tote guns, automatic weapons in broad daylight, shoot, and bam, they get away? I mean, isn't there a freezing on 30? I mean, how are all these homicides within what, a 3-mile radius? I mean, are there ever extra patrols? It seems like when shootings pop up, you guys say, well, we're going to hit the hot spots. But aren't those hot spots all the time? I mean, isn't that what prevention is about, just being out there?
Thank you for that. One of the things that I've said from day one as chief is it's a joint responsibility between the community, the police department, and the rest of our criminal justice system to reduce violent crime in our community. And I'm trying to step up as a police department to do our role in that function. It's up to everybody else that I just mentioned too to partner with us. That's why I think today is a good first start for that. You asked if we police things differently based on location of the city. We formulate our policing strategy based on the elements that are occurring, based on the data that we analyze that's taking place in each neighborhood. Some neighborhoods have a graffiti problem. Some neighborhoods have an issue with abandoned vehicles blocking the streets so emergency vehicles can't get through. Some neighborhoods have an issue with burglaries. So we try and address our policing tactics with what the crime data shows us. So we go where the data takes us, and we try to do a quality police service on each one of those areas? And can we improve certain?
Solution. We talked about training as far as the sensitivity training with police. I would suggest a solution that if you as the chief, and I don't know who you have to go to, actually contact community persons to do the community relations training. I'm available to do that. And I would say a solution because I'm timeline based. People say, oh, solution, but we're, I guess, 8 years later. I've only been here 3 years, so I don't know what happened another 5. But I would say by November 1st, if that communication could be made with community persons to actually come in and do a diversity or community relations training. It's a difference to have internal people do a training, but I'll do it free and I usually charge $150 an hour. So, The next one, does Omaha Police Department have a website that you have access to or your people have access to? I would suggest as a solution to post a report card police on there. And instead of doing it the negative way, and you'll say, oh, the bad person, nobody wants to be known as somebody with an F or D, but, kind of switch it around and say, job well done. These police that have done so many wonderful things, and maybe that would do something for the other ones that are falling short. Another solution in regards to the SOP, you're saying that it's going to take years, and because you haven't, I guess, a policy, procedure, or substantive merged with that. SOPs are standard operating procedures, so that should have already been done. I would say that perhaps by December 1st, because I'm another timeline person, if the Omaha Police Department and whomever, and I don't know if you have in contact with that, could consult some of these other cities that do have their SOPs online, and they're doing it relatively fast, that you can extract or bridge out of that, I think you said 2 phone book document, because that must be kind of hard for the police. No wonder if they're not operating effectively. If I have to do 2 phone book pages to operate, I probably wouldn't have a problem